the recent future has seen significant steps forward in the development of AI. AI has several different aspects to it. And according to Alan Turing, the godfather of computing, there is the aspect where AI needs to be able to communicate with humans, which is natural language processing. And the other part, there are other parts like computer vision, where objects and segmentations need to be recognized. Now, today, I'll just give a brief overview of how NLP has progressed and what effects ChatGPT has actually made to the progress of NLP and what it looks like in the future. The main goal of NLP is to ingest text or voice translated into text and respond to it in a manner which is human-like. And by saying human-like, it essentially means that the response should be comprehensible to humans. So it's not a field that is new. It's a field that has been pursued for several decades now. But what has really made the big difference in the past 10 years is the advent of deep learning and our capabilities of actually training very large models on GPUs and producing models like ChatGPT, which can analyze text really well. The progress has been exponential in the past few years actually, because of the computing power that is accessible to us now. But that's a completely different discussion we can have on a different day. But it has, over the past 10 years, we've seen the progress of NLP through convolutional neural networks, recurrent neural networks, LSTMs, GRUs, and finally to transformers, and in addition to reinforcement learning. So the building of all of these architectures to train models is what has brought NLP to the stage that we are at. So autoregressive models like ChatGPT have been developed over several years. It's not an overnight achievement, and it's certainly a laudable achievement because it's taken so long, it's taken so much effort, and so much knowledge has been actually put into developing it. As Jan LeCun of the Facebook fame pointed out, ChatGPT really is a very, very large language model with a lot of parameters in it, hundreds of billions of parameters in it. And this is what really makes the difference. The larger the model is, the more complex it is, and hence it can absorb more knowledge and retain more knowledge, and then when queried about it, it can let go of that knowledge. So is ChatGPT absolutely perfect? No, it's not perfect. There are, as OpenAI has clearly stated, that there are several pitfalls that ChatGPT has, and these should over time be addressed. These are model challenges that are open and will be addressed in the next few years or over the next decade or so. It has often been pointed out that if you give a prompt to ChatGPT, it spits out information which is essentially nonsensical, and OpenAI recognizes that. The reason why that happens is because there are model limitations to how much knowledge can be retained, and if a question is asked which is beyond the domain knowledge of the model itself, instead of refusing to answer, it just puts out an answer which might be essentially nonsensical. It's also sensitive to paraphrasing. So humans are not sensitive to paraphrasing. If I ask you, how are you and how is it going, you'd probably figure out that it's the same question and you have to give the same answer. But this is something that the model cannot recognize sometimes when you change the prompt a little bit. For the first prompt, it might just not have an answer, but for the second prompt, it just might have an answer or give you a different answer. And this is another limitation of these models, and they don't sound natural enough. So the idea, of course, is to make this sound as natural as possible. But if you give two similar questions and you get two different answers, you will realize it's not a human speaking on the other end. It's probably a machine. Sometimes these models are excessively verbose, which you might have noticed already. If you ask a question, a human would probably put it in 3 sentences, whereas ChatGPT would go on and explain it in 2 paragraphs, maybe, or more. And this is also a limitation of the model where brevity is not understood really well. So this is another area of development that is necessary. It also, ChatGPT does not ask for clarifying questions. So usually humans, what they would do, if you don't understand a question, you would ask it again, or you would ask for clarifications, etc., etc. But the large language models do not do that and assume that an answer is expected. Probably the most harmful part of these large language models is that they can actually produce harmful content at given certain prompts. While there are checks and stops for these, it is not completely effective. So oftentimes there will be harmful content. So these are the caveats of large language models as they stand of now, and of course of ChatGPT as it stands now. So, but then there are limitations in any new technology that is built. What are the good sides of large language models like ChatGPT? Or rather, why did it suddenly make so much noise when we know that autoregressive models have been around for a while? First thing is, the world is now ready for AI to be implemented in the commercial context and in the sociological context. People have been hearing about it for years, people have been working with it for years, and now is the time when it will make a big move. And hence, when ChatGPT, given that it works with reasonable accuracy, and given that it provides a certain degree of utility, its use was pretty well understood and pretty well accepted. There were other models which failed before. There were models which got biased. There were models that would spit out knowledge which was completely incorrect or fabricated, as it is known. It's called hallucination or AI hallucination. But ChatGPT managed to reduce that to a credible or a tolerable limit. And since that was done with ChatGPT, this is why it kind of became effective for current commercial use. And of course, there is Microsoft backing and clear use cases. So now we see the advent of ChatGPT. Let's try to think for a bit, what can it actually do for us? Or going forward, when we actually look at large language models, how will we use them? So first of all, language is everywhere. Any instructions we give, any communications we have, anything is basically through human language. So it's you can expect the effects of ChatGPT to proliferate almost everywhere. The place where we have to be a bit cautious is where a decision made by AI can actually affect a human life, or affect a human, can affect a population in general. This is a use case where people should be careful, but there are other use cases where this does not happen, and large language models can be used very effectively. One of them is searching for information, not the actual content itself, but actually the process of searching for it. This can be helped by NLP, because we can give prompts which will be interpreted by the NLP, and then that will be translated into a search, and the search will spit out what we need to know. So you can put in more natural prompts instead of having to figure out what keywords you should put in. The second area is, of course, summarization, because not everyone wants to read a long paper or a long website or anything. And this is a pretty safe application, because then the entire text is ingested and it is shortened into a summary of a few lines, and then we can get away with, 'with, with, 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 entire text, and this is very effective. Coding, of course, is going to become is going to be really helped by uh, models like ChatGPT, because coding is something which is very systematic. It is mathematical. It is precise, and these are applications in which ChatGPT can do really, really well. So we have already seen samples of code written and debugged by ChatGPT, and this looks really fantastic. It reduces a lot of work for developers who have to do who have to repeatedly write the same code, or just have to develop code which has already been developed before. So this is a very solid application. Of course, this leads to the application that everyday tasks also get aided by models like ChatGPT, because you don't, if it's incorporated into a device and you just are able to give it a normal prompt, and then the device just does what you asked it to do, this would be really good. There are implementations of Alexa and etc. which do the same thing. It's just going to make it much better. There are other aspects where ChatGPT can help. One, of course, is ideation, because sometimes we just need a sounding board. We like to have someone we talk to, and they just listen to us and maybe point out a few things that we didn't figure out because we were too focused on our own perspective. A natural language processing model like ChatGPT can ingest what your ideas are and reply to it in a manner in which it can help your perspective or change your perspective, or help you in ideation. So that is a huge benefit. Of course, this is a safe usage too, because ideation cannot go terribly wrong, because you know what you want and you are trying to hash it out. So even if a terribly wrong idea is spit out, you probably won't be distracted by it. So this is a pretty safe application of ChatGPT. Of course, the largest application of ChatGPT, of course, in the realm of travel and entertainment and essentially having fun. The use case for entertainment is obvious. How many hours have we spent just like chatting with ChatGPT, just putting in prompts and seeing what it spits out? That's a clear case of entertainment. Of course, there's a higher order use to it also, where you could possibly ask it to write you a story, and it would write you a story and you would read it, and that's pure entertainment, because fiction can go in any direction. It's a perfectly safe usage of ChatGPT. And also imagine that you want to travel somewhere and you ask, okay, where do I go for a vacation? Or I would like to go on a vacation to Turkey. What places should I visit? These kind of these would elicit very, very concrete answers, and these would oftentimes imaginative answers. And this can help you decide what to do next in life, or where to go on a vacation, and etc. So this is basically like having someone next to you who has the knowledge of the little things in the world, and you just want to gather that knowledge from them to build your own world. And this ability to store so much knowledge into a model and have it respond in a manner which is human-like and not in zeros and ones is what makes models like ChatGPT really good for the future. There are several steps that need to be taken to make it perfect. It's not close to being perfect, and I'm pretty sure that the community will push hard now that there are use cases of such models. It will push hard now to make them really, really reliable and trustworthy. So with that, I finished my exposition on ChatGPT. It was nice giving this talk, and I hope you enjoy using large language models in the future. Thank you.